Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for coming to my session, Supercharge Marketing Cloud to Increase Event Attendance. My name's Tracey Ho, and today I want to talk to you about how you can create dynamic and personalized calendar invites with Marketing Cloud. So I'm sure you've all seen this slide 100 times before, but I just want to remind you that you should base all of your purchasing decisions on products and services that are currently available. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to take a little bit of time to introduce myself. So again, my name's Tracey Ho, and I'm currently a solution architect at Amicus Digital. We are owned by Merkle, and we're a marketing cloud partner agency based in Sydney, Australia. So I'm 3-time certified as a marketing cloud email specialist, consultant, and most recently, as of last Saturday, a Salesforce administrator. So some quick facts about me. I'm the only female solution architect on my team, but also the youngest. And I don't have any formal training in computer science. And everything that I know, I've learned on the job. So if I can be here giving a Dreamforce developer talk, so can any of you. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about event marketing in Marketing Cloud. So amongst some of the brands that I've worked with, event campaigns are so essential in showing customers, both potential and existing, more about a company's offerings and services, but also more about the company themselves. So let's set the scene. You've got an event coming up, you've booked the location, and you've organized the catering, and there's a guest speaker ready. And you've got a pretty solid invite and reminder campaign going on in Marketing Cloud, an example journey here up on screen. But there's only so many times that you can actively contact a customer before you start introducing brand fatigue or you start conflicting with other communications that you're sending from other campaigns. So why not add a passive channel into the mix? You can use Marketing Cloud to generate personalized calendar invites that you can link out to from your invite and your reminder emails so that every time your customers check their calendars, they'll see your event. I don't know about you guys, but my calendar is so essential to my daily and my work life just functioning properly. Even for Dreamforce, if there isn't an event in my calendar, I don't know about it, and I certainly don't go to it. And what event is successful without people coming? So today what I want to show you is how you can build this solution in Marketing Cloud so that you can use it in your future event campaigns. So I will assume for the rest of the session that you have a basic understanding of AMP and I will be introducing some advanced server-side JavaScript, but I'm going to take the time to explain line by line what each line does. So let's talk about the components that you're going to need to build this out in Marketing Cloud. So you're going to need data extensions, and the data that you need is information about who you want to invite and the information about the events themselves. You're also going to need an email, and you can use, as usual, the information from the data extensions to personalize that email. But also what you're going to need is a call to action link that asks the recipient to download a calendar invite. So what that link is actually going to do is use the Cloud Pages URL function. And what that function is going to do is send encrypted and identifying information about the subscriber and the event. And so when someone clicks on that link, and the Cloud Page opens, the Cloud Page is going to get that information, decrypt it, and also use it to look up extra information from the data extensions. And then what the Cloud Page is going to do is output the calendar file and also trigger the browser to download that file. So let's talk about the data. And as I'm sure most of you know, the data is the foundation to any successful Marketing Cloud email campaign. So the first thing we need to think about is who are you going to invite to your event? So this could be people that have been highly engaged with previous communications that you sent, and now you just feel like you need a face-to-face meeting to seal the deal. Or it might be people that have expressed interest explicitly by buying a product that you've offered previously, or have filled out a form to say they're interested in seeing, like, coming to a product launch or something like that. And if you have lots of events going on, how do you know which event each person is going to go to? So secondly, we need to know things about the event as well. How is each event going to be uniquely identified? And then you have to have other information that you would expect in a standard calendar invite, like the location, the event date, the start and end time, and of course, an event name. So let's jump into Marketing Cloud and have a look at what this might look like. So I've got a data extension here called Event Invitations. And so I've got two primary keys here, the subscriber key and the event ID. And the reason there's two primary keys is because there might be the possibility of inviting one person to lots of different events. And so if we look here in the sample record, you can see in this second column here, I've expressly identified which event this person is going to. And the other information that I've included is just their subscriber key, so their unique identifier in Marketing Cloud, and their first and last name for personalization. So now I've got a data extension called Event Details, and it's got one primary key, which is the event ID. And so that's telling us that each event has to be uniquely identified. So when we look at the sample record, it's pretty standard. So the event ID is the exact same as it was in the event invitation data extension. And then the other information is the name, the location, date, and I've got a short description. So if all of this information kind of sounds like stuff that you would have in your standard campaign and campaign member objects in Sales Cloud, that's pretty on the nose. If you have Marketing Cloud Connect and that information flows directly into Marketing Cloud, you could absolutely use those as the sources of your data. But if not, just using those in standard data extensions, as I've just shown, is also perfectly fine. So now let's talk about how we're going to build out the cloud page. So we're going to do that in 4 steps. So in step 1, we're going to retrieve all of the information that the cloud page's URL sent to this page. Step 2, we're going to use that identifying information to look up any extra details from the data extension to personalize our calendar invites. Step 3, we're going to use server-side JavaScript to set page headers to tell the cloud page, hey, we're outputting a calendar file, and I need to ask the person to download and save this file. And then in step 4, we're going to output the calendar file out itself. So now let's look at section 1. So we're going to open an AMP script block. And these first couple of lines are just a comment to remind ourselves how we're expecting the cloud page's URL link to be formatted. So what this function is saying is, to cloud page with the ID 2059, I want to send the field event ID from the sendable data extension as event ID in red. And I want to send underscore subscriber key, which is the personalization string for a subscriber key, as subscriber key in blue. And so then what we're going to do is use the request parameter function to set some AMP script variables. So I'm going to set @eventID as the event ID information, and @subscriber key as what is sent as subscriber key. So you can see the parts in red, event ID, and the parts in blue, subscriber key match. They have to match exactly, otherwise the transfer on the receipt of information isn't going to work. And so I just want to remind you, Cloud Page's URL does encrypt the information. So once the Cloud Page URL loads, you won't see any information like the subscriber key and the event ID. That won't be in plain text in the address bar. But request parameter will be able to decrypt that information. So next in section 2, we're just going to do a little bit of error handling. So we're going to say if somebody tries to access the cloud page without the event ID or the subscriber key, then we're just going to show an error message. And if you have the HTML and the design available, you could absolutely brand this. And so then if this hurdle is passed, we're going to say, well, I need to now look up in the event details data extension. I want you to return any rows that have this event ID. And so we do need to do another error check after this and say, well, if there aren't any rows returned, well, sorry, we don't have any events with this ID available. So once both of these hurdles are passed, we can say, the only row I care about is row number 1. And the reason we know this is because in my example data extension event ID, there was only one primary key. So a valid event ID should only ever return 1 row. And so once that's set, I can then use the field function to grab all of my information about my event. So I'll grab the name from the name field, the location from the location field, etc., and so on. And so we're going to do a similar thing for the subscriber information. We're going to do a lookup rows on event invitations. This time I'm going to check 2 fields, event ID and subscriber key. And that's because, as I mentioned, there were the 2 primary keys in that field. And so again, we're going to say the only row I care about is row number 1. And I'm going to use the field function to grab all of the personalization information I need for this subscriber. And then because a calendar file needs it, we're just going to hard code in some information about the company. So just hard coding this in is fine. If you already have this stored as the member personalization strings, we can use that. So we're going to close our AMP script block here. So some of you may have noticed I've got an if statement left open, and we're going to close that at the very end of this. But we have to close the AMP script block because we're about to switch into server-side JavaScript. And to do that, we need to use the script tag, and we need to set the language as JavaScript and the run attribute as server. So it makes perfect sense why this is called server-side JavaScript. So this first line here is saying, well, I need to load version 1.1.1 of the core library. And so when working with server-side JavaScript, this is pretty essential. If we don't include this line, we won't be able to use any of the proprietary Marketing Cloud functions. And so the next things that we're going to do is use http header.setValue. And this is going to tell the browser, we're setting the content type of this page to be a calendar information. And then next, we're going to use this same function to tell the cloud page, well, hey, once we've output all of this calendar information, I want you to open up a download dialog and save this file as cal.ics. And that's just an example. You can save this as whatever you want. And that's actually all we need to do in server-side JavaScript. So we're going to close out of this script tag, and we're going to get ready to output our calendar file. So this is a little bit overwhelming, but this is actually the absolute minimum that you need to generate a calendar file. I wouldn't take a picture of this. I've got an example of the AMP script variables being replaced. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. In red, I've just highlighted all of the information that we need and that we've actually already got from our data extensions or that we've hard-coded in. So the only thing I think that's a little bit confusing is that UID on line 5 that I've marked as some unique identifier. The calendar standards just say it should be a concatenation of a subscriber key, an event identifier, the time of generation, and some company information. And then, so if we replace all of this in red with our AMP script variables, it's going to look something like this. So you can see I've just output the subscriber key, the event ID, the time of generation, and your company name in a row as the identifier. But you might need to use the AMP script replace function to get rid of any spaces or colons or dashes or anything else that kind of gets output. But for everything else, you can see I've just replaced the attendee first name with our first name variable, same with their last name and their email address. I've replaced the company information with what we hard-coded in, and of course, all of the event information. So if we look at how this looks in the Cloud Pages dialog itself, it looks like this. So this first section here, that's us retrieving the information from the Cloud Pages URL link. This next section is us getting all of the information from the data extensions. And then we're going to be using the server-side JavaScript to set the page headers. And then, of course, we're going to output all of the calendar code. And then you can see I've opened AMP script again to close that end if statement. So now, to close the loop, we just have to update the email with the Cloud Pages URL. So in here, I've got my email open up in Content Builder. So I just need to head into the HTML editor tab, and I need to go and find that add a reminder to your calendar link. So I'm looking for an A tag, so that's usually what we use to link out to things. And we're going to replace the href variable with our Cloud Pages URL. So you're going to have to use the inline AMP script evaluators here. So that's % equals, because it's not a big chunk of AMP script code. And so once we save that, your invites are ready to go out. So now let's have a look at what this looks like from email to Cloud Page to calendar. So I've sent our invite to our networking event to myself, and I've received it successfully. So what I'm going to do is click on Add a Reminder to Your Calendar, and it should open up a new browser tab and ask me to download a file called cal.ics. So when that downloads and I open up the file, you can see in my default calendar app of choice, I've got a calendar invite. And you can see that it's been personalized, as expected, with all of the information from our data extension. So our name, our location, our event dates and times are correct, and also the description that we put in the data extension is in the body of the calendar invite. And so when I go to my calendar app and I go to the correct date and time, I can see that we'll be able to see that it appears as expected. So every time your attendees or your prospective guests are checking their calendar, and if they're anything like me, they're checking it every single hour, they're going to see your event. So there are a couple of other ways that you could link out to this cloud page. So you could use the attach file function, but I just want to let you know this isn't enabled in Marketing Cloud by default. You'll have to talk to your account executive for this, and also there's a cost per attachment. It also means that the file has to be generated in the email itself to be automatically attached, and that requires a little bit more configuration than I can show you today, but it's basically the same principles. The other way you could do it is to link from an RSVP page. So actually in your email, you might want to send people out to a registration form to collect some more details like dietary requirements, if they're bringing some other guests and what their details are. And then once that registration or that form has been submitted, then you might want to link out to the invite generator page. And so I've got some additional resources here. I'll be posting the slides on my event chatter feed, so don't worry, they'll be there for you. But there's more information about the ICS standards there. So remember, I've only given you the absolute minimum to generate a valid calendar file. There is more information that you could include, so you'll just have to check the standards out for that. For more information about HTTP headers, I think the Mozilla developer docs are really well set out and really easy to read. And of course, I've also included the official Marketing Cloud documentation for the AMP script and server-side JavaScript functions. So I don't have a lot of time to take questions on stage, but do feel free to email me, tracy@amicusdigital.com. But I'll also be waiting here to your right to take any questions in person if you would like to talk to me. It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about anything to do with Marketing Cloud. This is also my first Dreamforce, so if you have any tips, come and talk to me about them. Just another note that the Salesforce Developers Keynote is tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. So if you are interested in attending, your registration is essential, so head on over to that link. And that's all I have time for. Thank you so much for your attention and your attendance. Have a great Dreamforce.